Hi, my name is Matthew Marr, and I will be presenting my research project that compiles studies over the compositions of royal jelly that lead to queen caste differentiation in Apis mellifera. What are Apis mellifera? Apis mellifera, or Western honeybees, are a eusocial species of insect. They have high levels of communication, polymorphism, and age polytheism, which classify them as a superorganism. Honeybees are a major pollinator in nature, and they have many crops that rely on them for pollination. There are other interesting facts, some including that the bees account for $15 billion of the US economy. They also help to produce 1/3 of the food supply in the world, and they increase the biodiversity of an ecosystem. I included this cute little Save the Bees graphic because it's still relevant today. Next, we're going to compare the two significant types of bees studied in this research project: the queen bees and worker bees. There's a third bee type, which are drone bees, but those can be discounted for this project. Within a beehive, there will only be one mated adult queen. All the bees in the hive would protect this queen with their life, as well as follow the commands that she gives. The queen mates with the drones to produce brood for the hive. On the other hand, worker bees account for the majority of the colony, with populations ranging from 20 to 40,000 per hive. The worker takes on a daily tasks like tending to brood, foraging, hive upkeep, and more. Queen bees tend to be about double the size of a worker bee and have an average lifespan of about 1 year. A worker bee will live for a shorter period of time, from anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks to 4 months. In order to become either a worker or queen, bees must go through a selection process, which is carried out by the nurse worker bees in the hive. There is no special determination with the worker larvae, and their diet is the same as any other worker bee larvae. If a new queen is needed, though, the worker bees will select a prospective queen by choosing healthy larvae. These larvae are then fed royal jelly and possibly an increased nutrition. This leads to my question: can the compositions of royal jelly be attributed to queen caste determination in Apis mellifera? There could be two major components that most likely lead to queen caste determination: royal jelly, which is secreted by the worker bees, and the diet. Where does royal jelly come from? Royal jelly is secreted by the worker bees that take care of the larvae. It contains a high protein content, as well as water, sugars, fatty acids, and traces of minerals and vitamins. Some sources claim that there are health benefits, and it can also be brought as a consumable product. In order to properly answer this question, analysis over the compositions of royal jelly needs to be done. In this study, researchers were interested in finding out the compositions and benefits of royal jelly as a food option for humans. Here I will be focusing on the column of the fresh royal jelly, as it is as most like the one fed to future queen larvae. There's a mix of sugars, fats, and proteins, as well as other vitamins that are not listed on this chart. These are all important quantities needed for the size growth necessary for a queen bee. Here's the composition of regular honey, which is normally fed to the worker larvae. The water content is much lower, as well as the protein content. Protein is vital for any significant size growth, but isn't present as predominantly as in royal jelly. Researchers wanted to study the effects of royal jelly on a larger scale, so they fed immature rats the royal jelly. On the left side of the chart is a control group where rats were not fed anything out of the ordinary, and their growth before and after was monitored. The last three groups were all fed a certain amount of royal jelly, which increased their growth levels significantly. The conclusion was that the royal jelly increased the growth rate in rats. The conclusion can also be paralleled with the queen larvae, as they end up growing up to 2 times the size of a worker. Researchers wanted to test the royal jelly's effect on production of female hormones within the different species. Once again, similar to the last experiment, they had a control and 3 experimental groups of developing female rats that were fed varying amounts of royal jelly. Graph A on the left shows the levels of estradiol increased slightly at the 200 and 400 level doses. Graph B shows that the levels of progesterone increased at all 3 instances. Next is the diet for the queen larvae. The diet will be much more in volume compared to the worker bee larvae. There will be a higher quantity as well as quality of food. There's much higher protein content, as seen with the composition breakdown before, which will lead to a longer growth period, causing the queens to grow bigger. The next study shows the effect of increased royal jelly consumption on larvae development. In this experiment, there were 3 groups of bees that were fed royal jelly with varying amounts of days. The results of the experiment show that the largest amount of adult queens was when they were fed royal jelly for 5 days. This shows that the royal jelly is directly correlated to the maturing of Apis mellifera queens. To sum all the research up, the royal jelly contains high amounts of proteins and other nutrients that help prolong the growth period of the queen larvae. In another experiment, feeding royal jelly to immature rats leads to quantifiable growth. Feeding it to developing female rats causes an increase in estradiol and progesterone levels. In the last study I analyzed, more queens survived to adulthood, or they developed due to being fed to royal jelly during their larval stages. The last effect isn't known for certain, but a correlation between the two can be drawn. The significance of the result is that it can help narrow down the process of picking out the future queen bees within the hive, as well as make queen rearing easier. This will help with queenless hives, as well as create new hives. Going further, if more research is done using royal jelly as a weight gainer or dietary supplement for people with physical challenges, I think it would be a major breakthrough. These are my peer-reviewed references, and these are my non-peer-reviewed references for images and background information. Thank you so much.